Alright, we're out here at the ranges at USSA. We've had 3 days of pistol training, and we have a follow-on day for some rifle training. Brian, this is your first rifle class?
Yes, sir.
First time he's come out here to do a carbine class, defensive carbine class, and he's just purchased this holster during the lunch break. And he's come back out to the range to use this holster because we weren't using pistols, we weren't doing transitions in the morning, we're going to do them now. This is very typical of how I see somebody that doesn't have a lot of experience, and quite frankly, people with a lot of experience put on a drop leg or a subload type holster. And this is just a disaster waiting to happen in a couple different ways. As you can see how loose this is, if Brian starts to run and starts to move, this is going to start flopping around. And this is why sometimes you'll go to like a SWAT competition and you'll see SWAT guys with this thing duct taped to their leg, and so it doesn't move around. And my response has always been, well, wait a minute, what if you have to run on an actual deployment? You always duct tape your stuff down your leg. And of course they look at me like I'm crazy, but the point is valid. If your gear doesn't work right, fix it. Find a way to fix it. So we're going to take this right now and we're going to just do some quick modifications and make this workable for the range for Brian. The only reason to have a drop leg or a subload is to get it under your heavy tack vest. Brian doesn't have a heavy tack vest. Let's fix this. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and shorten this strap up. Remember, we only need it to be as low as we need it to be to get underneath of a vest or something like that. Well, Brian doesn't have a vest, so we may as well put this up literally as high as we can get it to go. Now, because of this hanging down off the belt, there's only so high we can get this design to go, but this is one of the better designs. This one happens obviously to be a blade tech. This is one of the better designs for being able to make this adjustment. So we're actually going to go ahead and do that. And I've just got this folded back down. Honestly, we can take the knife and cut it off because we're never going to need it unless he joins a tack team and has a really long low vest and needs this to drop lower. So we've got that adjustment made. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to not worry about this strap. And again, I may as well take a knife and cut it right off. I'm not worried about this top strap. I'm not going to use the top strap. Don't worry about the top strap. So this is secure. No problem there. We aren't really worried about it flopping around because of course it's going to be pressed against the leg. We come back in here. And now what we're worried about is we've raised this up significantly. Now, if I could, I'd come in here and start cutting all this and change all this too. This extra 3 inches that isn't going away is a problem. So we want to make this even lower, get it up here on his leg. So real quick, I'm going to take this, open this back up, and as much as I can possibly get away from needing the extra Velcro, I'm going to go ahead and cinch this down. So quite honestly, we're going to end up in a situation where we may not even have any hook and loop closure Velcro left, and we're going to need to duct tape this or poke a couple holes in there and run some zip ties. So we're going to get this into a position here where it's as stable as we can, which in this case is going to mean pulling this all the way through and looping that back down. Now again, when we get off camera, we're going to go ahead and get some duct tape or something to hold that there. We can poke holes in it, zip tie it, stitch it, whatever we wanted to do. Get this as low as we possibly can down in the holster so that the gun itself is as high as possible. The weight is as high as possible up here on his hip. If you think about the human body, this movement of the leg happens here. We pivot here. So just stick your leg out forward. This area moves a lot more than this area. So that momentum and that flopping that occurs when the gun is low, put your leg to the back, is because of all that movement. This area doesn't move as much, as we can see. Go back to leg straight. All right, now what I'm gonna have you do is, again, just to make you not feel uncomfortable and for this not to become an adult video, I want you to reach down and tighten the bottom strap around your leg. And this needs to be really tight. We want this as tight as it can be because, again, that's where the movement's gonna be. Now, Brian doesn't have real big legs, and this is a really big plastic brace here. You might want to avoid that big plastic brace if you don't have legs that are going to go ahead and cover that whole thing up. But that's not going to be tight enough. All right, I want you to really cinch that down, make that a lot tighter. We're going to pop that open and do that. All right. Now at this point, that's going to be a lot tighter. All right, that's good. Now if the body shape and size, if your body shape and size allow you to then use this strap too, and it will also kind of come down at an angle and come down between the legs right there, that's fine. If not, we're just going to cut that off, get rid of it, snap it behind, whatever we're going to do. We don't want it flopping around where it's going to get in the way, or get in the way of the trigger, of course, or get in the way of actually being under the gun when we need to reholster, or getting in the way of getting the gun out and getting a good firm grip line. So we don't want that around. If you can comfortably wrap that around, it may be low enough you can still get it down there between your legs. You might need to loosen that one up a little bit. Nope, okay, so that's going to work for now. So with 5 minutes worth of effort, we had just made this dramatically more secure. Okay, you might have noticed when it first came up here, it was kind of flopping around just as Brian walked into the scene. Right now, that's pretty stable. That's not really going to go anywhere. How's it feel?
Great.
All right. So if you have a drop leg, or if you have a subload, something on the offside where you carry magazines or a dump pouch or a medical kit or whatever it is, remember, the only reason you drop it is to get it under your tack vest. If you're coming out to a class, getting ready for home defense or maybe defense around your vehicle, something like that, you don't have a heavy tack vest, this doesn't need to be down here. It needs to be up as high, close to your hip as you possibly can be, or maybe you just need to go with a hip holster in the first place.